stand with me for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Markowski, please all board members, Vice President, and Council. At this time, we have a board salute we're very excited about.
Good evening, Board. We can't say enough about the importance of what our bus drivers and monitors do on a daily basis. They're the first face often for many of our students that they see in the mornings, and they're the last face that they see in the afternoon. And we train our bus drivers and our monitors to not only drive safely and operate their machinery safely and adhere to all of our guidelines for keeping kids and students safe and engaged. But we also train them to see something, say something. We say that often. On Wednesday, February 24th, Mrs. Jill Sluter and Mrs. Kendra Coleman, monitor for one of our buses, radioed in the morning and told us that they have a child that needs medical attention. Over the radio, we heard this student normally is tired in the mornings, but today something's different. We radioed back and said, okay, if you need assistance, let us know. And out of an abundance of caution, she pulled over Mrs. Sluter, the driver, to a safe location and waited for EMT. The building principal for Parkwood Elementary, Mr. Brandon Weinbrenner, arrived at the scene, and all three waited with the child. Once EMT officials arrived, they diagnosed that the student was in a medical emergency. His blood sugar was over 500, and he had to be transported immediately to the hospital. Jill and Kendra, if you'll stand, please. These two Greater Park employees noticed something out of the ordinary for this child, and in doing so, they very well could have saved his life. Come on up.
On behalf of the board and myself, Superintendent, we thank you for what you do every day, but also looking out for our kids every day. Yeah, I'm doing the extra. We really appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's 1,000 degrees in here. You're very welcome to leave if you like. And at any point in time, if someone feels like they need to retreat for a minute, you take your mask off. We totally understand. Next item. You're into the law. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Board, do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passing, moving along. Next will be approval of minutes from previous meetings. Board,
Mr. President, I move that we approve the meeting minutes as submitted.
thank you, Ms. Hutchinson.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. We appreciate that. We move right along. There are no public comments. Oh, yes, you got to vote. That is vote. All those in favor of approval of minutes, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move along. Let's take that for granted. That's not very nice of me, I suppose. There are no public comments tonight, so we will move on to the next item, and that would be the project update from ESG. How are you tonight, sir?
Good, and you?
Good. Having the time of my life.
Good evening, Board. My name is John Anderson. I'm with Energy Systems Group. I'm here tonight to give you a quick update on where we stand with our energy project for the school system. So this is a picture of Charlestown High School hallways. We have completed all the retrofit of the interior lighting at Charlestown High School, with the exception of the gymnasium. Those fixtures will be replaced for spring break. Didn't want to interrupt any of basketball season. So we've got those fixtures in hand, and we'll be replacing those over spring break, along with all of the exterior fixtures. The next slide shows a classroom at Jeffersonville High School. Again, we are 100% complete with the retrofit of all the interior lighting at that location. And again, we will be replacing the gymnasium, pool, and exterior fixtures over the spring break as well. Again, to not interrupt athletics. And this slide, although I have several on here, the only picture on there is of Parkwood Elementary, library area there. We are 100% complete with that building. And then along with this building here, we're 100% complete with it as well. River Valley Middle School, again, all the interior fixtures are done, and we'll be replacing the exterior fixtures over spring. At New Washington Middle High School, we began basically early last week, and we're about 20% complete that building. Move on. So on the water conservation side, at Jeffersonville High School, we're about 80% complete with the replacement of the toilet fixtures and flush valves associated with those fixtures. We still have all the aerators and all that to do in that building, and we should be done with that building by the end of March. And our next building that will be starting beginning of April will be Charlestown High School. Indoor air quality. Again, we are concentrating at Jeffersonville High School, about 90% complete with that building. The picture you see there is one of the air handlers where we have installed one of our IMOD type indoor air quality units. So with bipolar ionization. There are a couple different types that we use. This one happens to be modular. The others are SC24 and SC48s, which will go into either smaller air handler units and or locations where we can place them by the coils. So this week we started on this building, Better Center, Whitten, and the Auxiliary Services building. And then moving on from there. Other ECMs that we'll be working on, come May, we'll be working on all our building envelope tech work. So that'll include any door sweeps and sealants that we have to replace at those different locations. So we have 22 different buildings that we'll be working on. Again, we get out of school season for the most part, push that out to May. Electrical safety at Parkwood Elementary Gymnasium, lighting panel, light switches there. We'll be doing over spring break. And we'll also start in April the replacement of transformers at various locations throughout the system. And in May, for the solar thermal systems at Jeffersonville High School, New Washington Middle High School, Charlestown Middle School, and River Valley Middle School will be starting our solar thermal installations there. And building safety updates where we are installing ladders to different locations throughout the school system for easier access to mechanical units. That again will start in May. And we're looking at a completion in late third quarter of 2021. So that concludes where we're at today. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mr. Hawkins?
Thank you. Appreciate the work you guys are doing. I sincerely do appreciate that. I'm assuming that based on your progress, you guys do have a signed contract in hand, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, because, and I guess that would go to somebody, maybe, I don't know who it goes to in the board, but I don't think I ever saw the signed one show up on our board docs. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to go back and look again, but I don't remember seeing it. I was just hoping it'd be there too. So.
Well, to me, it's not on my floor now. I understand what you're saying, so yeah, we'll make a note of that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
And by your projection of late third quarter, is that on time?
Yeah. We were looking at September timeframe of completion.
Remember, the project was delayed 30 days,
Right.
so their original projections are now off.
We're trying to pull it back as best as possible. We want to get the majority of our stuff done prior to school reopening late summer.
Works for me. We all right? Everybody good? All right. Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tell Jason. Grant, you said hello. Next, Treasurer's Fund Cash Balance Report. Laura, your name, please.
This is quick and easy this evening. Good evening, Board, Mr. President. So we're strategically putting reports together for you to have you peruse. We've kind of changed that up, so we're going to provide a little bit more understanding for you. So this report contains every single fund that we are monitoring within the district. So the beginning of the month balance plus receipts minus disbursements will be equally remaining cash balances. So the red could mean that it's a reimbursable or an overage. If you have any questions on that, I'd be happy to answer, because the second one is the one that I want to kind of go over a little bit more detail. This is pretty self-explanatory. If I may, Mr. President, on the major funds monitoring report. Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so what we're doing with this is the major funds that I lecture on all the time, what drives the district, what directs us to go in our decision making. So you will see every month across the top, education, operation debt, pension debt, and rainy day. All right, so your education fund, I broke out the major pieces. So if you are looking to find perhaps TIF districts that give money, now Clarksville is all totally into its own fund in the 200 series, the previous one will show you that. But here you'll be able to monitor the highlighted areas such as our tuition support, which is the major revenue stream within education. And if you go down where the expenses are, that will correlate to your budget book, the report that has the nice, pretty little round graph on it, that'll correlate to. So you can see what we're spending, how much on salaries, how much on benefits, and it takes you to the ending balance for that month. Operations the same, so you'll see how much property taxes we will get, which come in June and December. Okay. And then your debt, pension debt, and rainy day are not generally affected till June and December. So that is your cash balance as you stand. Remember, I will also pull out when we have TAWs in and when we move them out. So that cash balance right there reflects your TAWs that came in, and that's the section that we're trying to move away from. If there's not any questions, all right, done.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next, go
Can I
ahead.
answer Mr. Hawkins real quick?
Please.
Signed contracts are never in board docs. The only thing that's in board docs are what goes to the board meeting. The signed contracts are in all of the minutes. So that's all up on my desk, and then we keep them on Laserfish, they're printable because they're kept forever. So like I go way back in the basement and storage and stuff, but I never go back into board docs, I never have, and re-upload contracts signed.
Okay.
So if you went back forever, you can never find the signing.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next is our bus wrap reorganization, Dr. Shank, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Board, you've heard it said sometimes when someone loses an arm or an appendage and they wake up and they feel that pain or they feel that it still exists. I'm going to call up someone that when I'm away from transportation doing other duties for the district, this gentleman is virtually my right hand, my left hand, my brain. He does a fantastic job. I can't say enough about the work of Daniel Borders. Daniel, you want to come on up and we'll present this bus route boundary reorganization for the 2021-2022 school year. And what we're focusing on tonight is the Bridgepoint Elementary School closure and how that affects Wilson Elementary School boundaries and also Franklin Square Elementary School and feeder schools. So if we'll go to the first slide. Closure of Bridgepoint Elementary School. There's no current Bridgepoint Elementary School stops that will be eliminated or removed. Unless safety dictates, but that's always the case. If something were to happen and we determine that something is not safe, then we always reserve that right. But the plan is not to have any of those current Bridgepoint Elementary School stops eliminated or removed. Matter of fact, 67 of our current Bridgepoint Elementary School students reside inside of what we refer to as the NTZ, that's the No Transportation Zone. Indiana State Code dictates that students that live within a mile radius of a school corporations do not, by law, have to offer public transportation by way of a school bus. So we have several NTZs in the district. This at Bridgepoint, obviously you can see we will actually be picking up those students now that have never had a bus stop, never had bus transportation afforded to them. They will for this upcoming school year. Next slide. So how does this affect the other schools through the closure? Absorbing Bridgepoint, the boundary up to and including Springdale Drive, Colonial Park, and Kiwanis Drive. So you can kind of see the colors on the map there and how this affects Franklin Square. Now, we've all seen social media. We've all read even posts that came out the last couple of days. I can tell you that Franklin Square was built for 550 students. With this configuration that you see on this slide, first grade, they currently have 66 students. They'll be getting an additional 24 for a total of 90. And I'll share this with the board after tonight's presentation. Second grade, they currently have 54 students. They'll be gaining 35 for a total of 89. Third grade, they have 54. They'll be gaining 22 from Bridgepoint for a total of 76. Fourth grade, they currently have 54. They'll be getting 18 fourth graders from Bridgepoint for a total of 72 in fourth grade. And then fifth grade, they have currently 57 at Franklin Square. They'll be gaining 21 for a total of 78. And then we have to predict for kindergarten. So based on kindergarten predicted numbers of students, they would currently have incoming 58. Currently, what we predict for Bridgepoint's kindergarten students, that would add 24 going to Franklin Square for a total of 82. So when you add all those up, that gives you a total of 487 students predicted for 2021-22 school year that will be going to Franklin Square Elementary School. Go to the next slide.
You're going to make me go away?
So North Haven Elementary School, you can see how the boundary lines are going to be affected. We listed some of the major thoroughfares and major roads. Obviously, there's more that are involved within those colored and shaded areas. And just to give you some numbers, again, I'll share this with the board, but current North Haven, first grade 76, gaining 11 for a total of 87. Second grade is at 84. They'll be gaining 10 jumping to 94. Third grade, they have 88, they'll be going up 13 to 101 in third grade. Fourth grade, they're at 92 currently at North Haven. They'll be gaining 9 students from the Bridgepoint area to go to 101. Fifth grade's at 84, they'll be gaining 14 more to go to 98. And then kindergarten predicted, again, as I said, based on our historic numbers and what we anticipate, 73 current North Haven Elementary School incoming kindergartners for next year. They'll be gaining 12 based on the boundary lines that you see before you for a total of 85. And that will put North Haven Elementary School at 566. No students will be seated in hallways. We have adequate space for all students at North Haven Elementary School for the upcoming school year. And then the next slide talks about Riverside. So you can see what we've done here. And Daniel, I should say, put all this together. Daniel does a fantastic job with our Traversa bus software. He worked diligently with Mrs. Karen Wesley, our Director of Elementary Education. Spent countless hours on this. So you can see the detail that goes into this planning. And I should interject here, after tonight, we do plan on March 10th, which will be tomorrow. We're going to email a video link explaining the route lines and offering an opportunity for frequently asked questions. We'll also be tomorrow sending letters to every student that's currently enrolled at Bridgepoint Elementary School listing their new school assignment. And then also tomorrow, it will be posted to our Greater Clark website, and then we'll launch a list of street names and corresponding new school placements. So Riverside, first grade's at 68, they'll be gaining 17 to go to 85. Second grade at 81, gaining 24 to go to 105. Third grade, 71, gaining 14 students, going to 85. Fourth grade, they have 81 students currently, they'll be gaining 11 and going to 92. Fifth grade, they have 75 and they'll gain 8 to go to 83. And kindergarten predicted is 72, gaining 25, and that'll take their kindergarten predicted number to 97 for a total of 547. Again, well in line with their current capabilities. Again, no students in hallways. Now, if we can move forward, current Wilson Elementary School boundary lines. You kind of see how, if you were to look at this for the first time, some of it is a head scratcher. Why is it this way? Why is it that? So we're trying to clean that up somewhat. So as we go to the next slide, we're currently transporting students to and from Parkwood Elementary School and Wilson Elementary School. So again, along the cost-saving measure that we've delved into, we've talked about repeatedly, and knowing Daniel and I talk weekly about anytime we can determine efficiencies, we need to act on those. So this is going to eliminate 1 AM and PM run. It does affect 27 Wilson Elementary School students. It affects 71 Parkwood Elementary students who are currently inside of that Wilson Elementary School boundary. But this allows us to condense the no transportation zone area at Parkwood. And if you're familiar with where Parkwood Elementary School is located, it's essentially right on the fringe of a large subdivision. And because of that NTZ, there are quite a few kids that are affected by that. So this allows us to transport more students in and around Parkwood, and also identify some inefficiencies that we currently have by eliminating an AM and a PM route. And then Franklin Square feeder schools. All 5th grade students currently at Franklin Square will attend Parkview Middle. Any 6th and 7th grade students currently attending River Valley in that area, you see the shaded area, they'll be offered transportation for the next 2 years. So this is essentially what we term in transportation as grandfathering. So when the change is made to this effect, we're not going to have a student or students who are attending River Valley that live inside of this purple shaded area, now they have to switch middle schools. That's not what we want to do. It's not what we desire to do. So they will be grandfathered, and we will continue to offer them transportation for the next 2 years. But those 5th graders that are currently in Franklin Square, When they go to 6th grade next year and they live inside of this purple area, we will be taking them to Parkview Middle School. Now, I should have prefaced this early in the presentation. At any point in time, if any parent chooses a different school, we have an internal Greater Clark transfer policy and transfer request. So those are still afforded to any parent. If they would like to request a transfer to a different school that's outside of their boundary lines, they certainly can do so. But historically, and what we've always done is transportation in those situations is not offered. So if a parent can provide that transportation and the transfer request is approved, then that certainly could exist. It does now for many, many students throughout the district, and it will in the future. So at this point in time, any questions for Daniel or I? Okay. Thank you.
Real quick, I want to thank Chad, Daniel, Karen, Leslie. They've spent an immense amount of time working through this, trying to balance things out between what we're doing with Bridgepoint, Franklin Square, Riverside, North Haven, you know, and it's really come out well in terms of what it looks like. And we feel like we'll be able to service those students really well at any of those schools. And like Chad said, no, we're not having class out in the hallway. That's not happening. I'm not sure where that's coming from. And I do want to speak to that for a second, though, because that keeps coming up, you know, about the growth of Jeffersonville and that narrative that are we prepared for any growth in Jeffersonville and what we're doing with Bridgepoint. You know, we have a pretty solid plan of what we need to do in Jeffersonville. And we understand that we'll need to add some classrooms on probably at Riverside. We'll need to add some classrooms on eventually at North Haven. And we're getting ready to start classroom additions at Utica that'll start here in a couple months that the board already approved. If we do those things over the next couple of years, that'll open up about 600 seats, you know. We have room right now as is. But we want to make sure we have room for the future too. So we're planning ahead. We're going to make sure within the next 2 years we get those things done. So that we have plenty of room for any students that move into the city of Jeffersonville or any growth that we have. So just want to let the board know and the community know that, you know, we've thought of those things, we know what we need to do, and we'll make sure that we stay ahead of any potential growth in the future.
Again, thanks, Chad and Daniel, appreciate it very much, very good. Moving forward, we have the consent agenda. We'll all look at that. Do I have a motion, board?
I move we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrick.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Questions, comments, concerns? So, everybody's good? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, let's move right along. Next, we have gifts to building.
So this time we had a couple to Charleston High School for radio station and appreciation for live streaming the ball games, which especially now with COVID, since only parents and those who live in house can go, other family members really appreciate that. So that came from Irving and Michelle Wagner. Also, there was another for $50 to the theater program. We also had some other for class of 2022 Pride and School Supply, totaling $1,445.60. I move that we accept these things to the building as presented. Second.
Thank you both. Comments? Nope. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you very much. Next, we have action items, Walton University, and I believe that's Dr. Parsons.
It is. Good evening, board. This is always great news. We have more requests to place student teachers in our district. And this is from Walden University. It's located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's predominantly an online program for working adults. They are an accredited school. They've been accredited by the Council for Accreditation of Educator Prep. And they have asked that we sign a letter of agreement to place students in our buildings this fall.
Board, motion, please.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the student teaching agreement for Walton University as presented.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Questions, comments for Dr. Hartledge? Good, everybody good? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving right along, students' rights and responsibility handbook.
Yes, each year we have to go through and review and revise this and update any information according to state and federal law as well as board policy changes. So a copy of the rights and responsibilities handbook has been attached for your review with all the new language highlighted. It predominantly impacts specific language. It's adjusted specific names and positions as well as an update in our asbestos status with changes in our buildings and closings and mergers and so forth.
Do I have a motion here?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the student rights and responsibilities handbook as presented.
Perfect, thank you, Ms. Perkins. Second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick. Any questions or comments? Nope, we're good. All those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The next item we have up is the school age child care provider agreement. Dr. Hartledge.
Yes, Board, according to Indiana Code, last year we did an RFP for our latchkey child care provider. It was awarded to communities and schools. Within that RFP, it allows for a 2-year renewal. This is the first year renewal. There are two portions to this, a collaborative agreement which is attached for the latchkey services, providing support for our students from 6:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. Throughout the district, and also a memorandum of agreement which outlines the wraparound services that are provided to our students during the school day.
Great. Board, do I have a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the communities and schools part-time grade department for school-age children care provider for 2021-2022.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. Do I have a second, please? Second. Thank you, Mr. Freeman. All those in favor, signify by questions, comments, concerns?
I believe that we have an outstanding education program in communities and schools. And I'm glad they continue to provide that for our students. And just a little bit of history. Do you know who started this program? No, in the state. In the state. Before this,
I think that's very far.
no, Governor Evan Bye. How about that?
He's got
You all can write it.
a nice statue of Minneapolis sitting on Park Bench. It's pretty cool as you go to Lucas Oil. It's great. Anyone else? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to bet on right here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that passes. Dr. Hartledge, again, thank you so much. Elementary school and
Where we have this extended summer school staff.
okay.
Services agreement.
I'm going to hit on her.
That's okay. It's been busy around here. At our last meeting, you approved a summer school contract for us with 20 teachers. And after careful review and reflection on our needs and what we felt like we needed to provide to narrow the achievement gap, we decided to extend those opportunities to include an additional 17 teachers also being contracted through communities and schools that would provide 12 special education teachers. 9 would be placed in our elementary schools, 3 in our middle schools, as well as 5 high school teachers. Part of our thought process was because our high school students are working to achieve credits. And so our elementary and middle school programs are a very short period of time. It's a 4-day period with additional 16 hours of instruction. But our high school students work at their own pace. They're virtually monitored. We have check-ins with our teachers, but we felt like they needed an extended window of time because of the nature of the coursework. So our academic team met, and we felt like this was something that we needed to provide, especially in the spirit of COVID. And we know we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us as far as narrowing the achievement gap in the fall, and we wanted to get a head start on it this summer by offering additional teachers and support.
And this is really an action to make sure also, we just had our graduation rate presented by the state a few weeks ago. It was really high, and we want to make sure it stays up there. So our high school principals are working really hard right now to identify those students that are not on track credit-wise, and make sure that we get them into a summer school program and make sure they graduate. It's been a long year and a half for a lot of those kids.
Well, do I have a motion for this?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the extended summer school staffing services agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. Do I have a
I
second?
second.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson. Any questions, concerns?
I have one. When the high schoolers have this opportunity, which is basically, was it 4 weeks or whatever?
June 1st through the 25th.
Right, okay. So as it stands now, if they are in a credit recovery program like the Plato, will they still have I guess you'd say, an expiration on their courses for this semester? Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
that, this allows them to extend that
Okay.
time through the end of June.
Okay.
So it does allow them more time to complete them. And then at that point, we'll have to reassess. And if we have to offer something else, then we will certainly do that to help.
We'll have to be a little lenient in that regard, because technically, a current senior has until October to get those credits done and count on this year's graduation rate. So we want to give them every opportunity to get that done, obviously. Hopefully they can get it done well before that.
Thank you.
Question. So of course, this is a lot to keep students afloat. What about, is it to be able to be used by students to get ahead, to take courses that are,
Enrichment.
enrichment, so they don't have to take it the next year?
At this point, our summer school programming that we have in place for elementary, it's our students in third grade take Algebra.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking more along the lines of high school. I'm sorry.
Okay. What we have established right now is more toward that credit recovery to get them to the level where they can graduate. It is not like if I'm a high achieving student, there are not enrichment opportunities. They are limited to trying to provide the remediation to get them on the correct path so that they can graduate.
It's something we've discussed in cabinet in the past, we just felt like we haven't been ready to make that jump, into that.
Because I know what they're used to. And I only say that just because, I used to take classes during the summer to, enable me to take classes that I wanted to during the year. And they ended up with, I could have graduated almost a year earlier.
Well, it allows you to take some of the academy courses that we offer, CT courses, because you're not, having to take a PD course or some other course, or, that you can really get into your area or your academy and get deeper into that study. So it's something we need to really look into.
Is this for all grade levels in high schools or just for seniors?
It is predominantly for seniors.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at that criteria, we will focus on those juniors and seniors that are credit deficient. But there would be opportunities in some cases for your freshmen and sophomore. But it's really about making sure that we're targeting those students so that they can stay on track.
When we ask the principals to look at the data in terms of which students are on track, we use a 11, 22, 33 model. So by the end of your freshman year, you should have 11 credits or more. By the end of your sophomore year, you should have 22 or more. And if you don't, we need to rectify that. And let's get you caught up and get you on track. So that's what they're looking at.
And we anticipate when we take the iLearn this spring, that we are going to have some significant gaps. Our CARES Act money, from CARES Act 1, we still have significant amounts slated to provide additional programming next year. And then we also, as we learn more about our CARES 2 funding, which is a much larger amount, we also, that's very much a huge part of this, is to overcome those achievement gaps. But we want to get the data first, and that will allow us to make informed decisions on what the best programming should be in order to get the greatest outcomes for our students.
Any other questions or concerns, comments? Okay, all those in favor, we extend the summer school staffing services agreement for 2021, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, we move on. Athletic.
It's
You?
still me.
All right, well, good.
Each season, we revamp our elementary athletic programming due to COVID and circumstances surrounding that. And so now it is track season. And our focus will continue to be on skill development. It will be held from April 12th through May 20th. This is an extended period of time to allow to have divided practices to ensure social distancing and school closures that may occur due to COVID-19. The third, fourth, and fifth graders will be eligible. They are required to complete the final forms applications, and a date will be scheduled through our athletic coordinator so that each school can have an actual meet at a track within the district. And certainly the district will provide assistance as far as any help that they may need to be able to facilitate the event.
All right. All those in favor of the elementary?
Need a motion?
Oh, I need a motion. Board, do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the elementary athletic handbook.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Do I have a second? All right, thank you, Mr. Paul. All those in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, any comments? I'm sorry, I missed you on that. I figured that we were just going to fly through this. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Hartley. We appreciate it. This is fever pitch. Service agreement for the corporation's point-to-point fiber-wide area network.
Say that 4 times fast. Good evening, Board. Tonight, I'm here to request the approval of a 36-month service agreement with Windstream for the corporation's wide area network. As required with new rate funding stipulations, the corporation advertised for the renewal and upgrade to our existing wide area network. The corporation currently has leased fiber lines from Windstream. All fiber lines provide direct point-to-point service to Jeffersonville High School. As per E-rate review requirements, the administration reviewed proposals based on the following selection criteria: price and charges, service level agreement meeting the specifications, service without additional cost, prior experience, and references from other school districts. 3 vendors responded, and those responses were evaluated based on the aforementioned criteria. Windstream was selected based on this criteria. Windstream has been our WAN provider for more than 15 years and has a proven track record. Ms. Gelbaker, General Counsel, has reviewed this document for legal accuracy.
Board, do I have a motion here?
Mr. President, I recommend, I move that we approve 36-month service agreement with Windstream for the corporation's point-to-point fiber wide area network.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick. Question, comments, concerns? Well, I know what we're supposed to do here. Mr. Hawkins?
Sorry.
That's all right, that's all right. All those in favor of approval of the service agreement, Corporation's point fiber wide area network, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Moves right along. Agreement with CDWG to provide E-rate Category 2 wireless access point upgrades at our elementary school. Ms. Bauer, thank you for presenting this.
With this agenda item, I'm requesting approval of an agreement with CDWG out of Indianapolis to provide wireless access point upgrades to our elementary schools. The selection of this vendor will complete an upgrade to wireless connectivity in our elementary schools. The project includes access points and network switches necessary to meet the needs of our digital classrooms. Given the district's level of poverty, these projects are charged at a 20% rate, while 80% of the cost comes from our E-rate reimbursements. Through E-rate requirements for procuring equipment utilizing our E-rate consultant of the EdTech, a request for proposal was advertised seeking replacement access points for the wireless networks in the corporation's elementary schools. 5 vendors applied to the RFP. An evaluation matrix was used to review the proposals received. Responses were evaluated based on the following criteria: cost and pricing, adequacy of the response to the RFP, previous experience with the vendor and references, invoicing reimbursements, discounts, and local or in-state vendor. The Technology Services Management team reviewed each proposal and provided an overall score. CDWG received the highest score. Other bids with alternate equipment would have resulted in a higher management cost in our coming years. Ms. Gettlebaker has reviewed the documents for legal accuracy.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer. Board, do I have a motion for the agreement with CDWG?
Mr. President, I move that we approve the agreement with CW.
I got you. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Any questions, comments,
I
concerns?
have a couple of questions.
Ms. Hutchinson, you go right ahead.
So with CDWG, why is that so hard to say? Were they the cheapest?
They were not necessarily the cheapest, but in terms of what we spec in the RFP, it was not an alternative piece of equipment. There was a little bit of a cost difference between some of the other vendors that had alternate equipment, a different brand than what we currently have in our other buildings, which would have resulted in additional training needs for our staff, as well as double work by doing upgrades on both pieces of equipment.
So were they the second cheapest?
I don't have that matrix in front of me.
No.
I don't believe they were.
So they were the third cheapest, and that space would have been eaten up by training and other things?
If I'm not mistaken, both vendors that were cheaper in cost spec the alternate.
So the alternate APs were not as good as the Cisco's that we're getting?
Not as good, I think, is a relative term. I think they are of equal quality. We're not sure about what that long-term solution would be with them, if it would meet our needs long-term. We currently use a different product in all of our other buildings. So again, that additional time for what it would take our team and the resources within our team to keep up with updates, both we felt, especially that 20% cost that it would cost the district.
Right.
That was.
And was the rubric included in the RFP?
I'm sorry,
Sorry, was the rubric included in the RFP?
no, it was not.
Is that normal?
It has been normal. So
Okay.
we use AdTech as our E-rate consultant,
Mhm.
and they've advised us to this point not to include our rubric in the RFP.
Okay. My only question with that is that in the rubric, it says preferences will be given to vendors who are willing to discount invoices. So how would people responding to the RFP know that they were being given preferences if it wasn't in the RFP?
I think the language normally is in our RFP. It didn't look like it got in this time. I can't answer how they would know that, but generally speaking, what we see.
Well, I think if they answered the RFP and then they got the thing, they would probably know that. If it wasn't.
Well, at that point, yeah. But,
Yeah.
But yeah.
Last question, how much business have we done with AT&T? I just know they're the vendors that respond.
Well, we do, AT&T is our phone provider throughout the district.
Oh, not Verizon?
Well, I'm talking about
landline and digital phone service. Verizon's our cellular carrier. AT&T is, and AT&T's provided other services for us over the years too.
Okay, thank you.
I had a couple of questions. What was well, I guess the question for you, Scott, what was the reasoning for our advisor saying that they don't think that language should be released with the RFP? I mean, with the...
It's just what they've advised over the years. I had a discussion with him this morning about why that is, and he said that moving forward, he believes that they'll recommend including that. What they've always done is provide us with a template and recommendations of how to evaluate that. And what we do is we adjust based on what our specific needs are within the framework they provide. He said moving forward, he thought maybe that would be better for the bidders to include that.
The second question, do you have a rough idea percentage-wise difference between the bottom number and the top number? I mean, just strictly, I understand it's outside the rubric, but...
The cost of the product?
Well, the cost of the entire contract, the difference between the two, and this percentage of the contract, or in dollars, either one.
25 to 30% roughly. I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but our cost will be, it's a $16,000 difference.
Right.
Between we had two bidders bid the exact same product, virtually the exact same product. There was a pretty good difference between those two vendors. And those were both the alternate product.
Okay.
But of the bidders who bid the spec product,
Right.
CDW was the lowest bidder by almost 100. It was like $70,000 or $80,000.
Okay.
So.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, concerns? Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Thank you, Mr. Bauer. All those in favor of approval of agreement with CDWG, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving right along. Dr. Shank, we're excited to hear this advertising for the 2021 contract to help propose the package and bus specifications, please.
Correct, Mr. President. So this is virtually no different than what we asked for this time last year. As a reminder to everyone, last year at this time, actually go back about a month, we put these out, and during that timeline, COVID hit. We went into a virtual shutdown. We decided as a leadership team, taking that to the board, that we would not put these out for approval of bid. We opened the bids because we already advertised in the local news and Tribune and following all of those state regulations. However, we opted to do another 1-year extension of those current contracts. Therefore, we now know a lot more. I think we're much, much safer. Vaccinations are occurring. We feel very, very confident in our upcoming school year. So I'm asking for approval to advertise the 2021 contract route proposal package and bus specification. Highlights of the bus specification, and most of my contractors will ask this. We put a limit of 20 years of school bus. So if they want to propose and bid for a 1-year term, a 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up until an 8-year term. Beyond that, I think it's a little bit too far to predict what those streets and roads and students living on those streets and roads might look like. So we always reserve the right to maneuver and create those. But what I'm asking for approval of is just the advertisement, and then at the next board meeting in April, we'll bring to you that complete bid when we open those on Friday, April 2nd. You'll receive those. You'll know exactly what those are. And again, just as a reminder, as part of our cost saving reduction plan, just like this time last year that we reported, there will be an absorption of 2 routes in the New Washington area.
Gotcha. Do I have a motion, board?
Mr. President, I move that we approve to advertise the 2021 contractor route proposal package and bus specifications.
Thank you, Ms. Perkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Questions, concerns, thoughts for Dr. Shannon?
Not obviously not the past one because we did the extension. I believe 2 contracts ago, there was a little bit of confusion in the language of the contracts. There was a phrase that the drivers had asked to have removed, and it got removed, but then there was some confusion about the contracts. Did we get all that resolved about the language in them?
I think if memory serves, it was about addendum language. And I think the current language, or the language that you're referring to, stated that at any point in time, administration can reduce mileage on a route and therefore reduce your daily rate.
Right.
We struck that language out. That was something that, so essentially, when they bid, and I bring those bids for you to approve in April, that's the minimum they're going to make. If fuel goes up, there's a fuel escalation inside of the specification. Or if I come to them and say, hey, we need you to drive here, here, or here, or if there's a road blockage because of construction, and there's a time that they would have to go and drive more mileage beyond that scope of the route they bid on and the route they were awarded, then there's an addendum. And so they'll make more in those situations.
Right,
They will not make
and
less.
that was taken care of correctly, to their satisfaction, I remember that.
Yes.
But I remember, I think when that happened, there was a little bit of confusion because the contracts had to be rewritten in a hurry and there was some confusion about that, and I wondered if we had gone back to the standard state form.
We should. We use the standard state form.
Thank you.
Any other comments, concerns, questions? All right, all those in favor of the advertisement of the 2021 contract route proposal package and bus specifications, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes and moves right along. Is this you, Chad?
Yes, sir.
All right, permission to advertise, design, build, RFQ, RFP.
Yes, sir. So this is the next step in the process for, as Mr. Loeffler mentioned earlier, the Utica Elementary School classroom addition and the locker room projects for both Jeffersonville High School and Charlestown High School. What we're asking is in compliance with IC 5-30 for design criteria services for progressive design build projects in the state of Indiana. As you're aware, the board approved Lancer Beebe LLC as our design criteria developer in October 27th of 2020. They have led us through the process. We have, by board approval, we have appointed a technical review committee, a TRC. The next step in the process is to advertise for the combination requests for qualifications and proposals for design, build, public works projects. And in essence, in the summary, the next paragraph that you have, any design builder interested in being considered by Greater Clark County Schools as a potential design builder with respect to the design and construction of a new locker room building for Charlestown High School, a new locker room building for Jeffersonville High School, and the classroom addition for Utica Elementary School as described in the combination request for qualifications and proposals dated March 11, 2021, will be able to submit verified statement of qualifications and proposals set forth in Indiana Code 5-30 as amended. All responses to the combination request for qualifications and proposals shall be received until 2 p.m. local time on April 15, 2021, here at the administration offices of Greater Clark County Schools. So again, one of the roles that Lancer Beebe, Terry Lancer and Mark Beebe is actually on our TRC and one of the owners of the company, but Terry and his team, not only will they be have they provided this advertisement in the RFQ, RFP, but they will also be putting that out onto multiple sites and then actually sending that out to those who've already shown interest in receiving those qualification documents.
Sounds good. Board, do I have a motion here?
Mr. President, I'd like a motion that we recommend the approval to advertise the combination request for qualification and proposals for design, build, public works projects.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Comments, questions for Dr. Shea? Mr. Hawkins?
At one time, we had an area in our website, and I know our websites have been redesigned. Will this also be posted in the location that is designed for advertising for bids?
Yeah, we'll work with Mrs. Guntmaker and then Pro Media and Tara.
Right,
We'll make sure that it's there, prevalent on our
It's in the business.
main page from business.
It's under the business, the business department, there's
Okay.
there's places.
Thank you.
Any other comments, concerns? All right, all those in favor of approval of the permission to advertise, design, build, RFQ, RFP, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, move Moving right along. All right, next item is recommendation to approve facilities management company. Ms. Brandon.
Well, Mr. President, members of the board, it is my distinct pleasure to be before you tonight, probably bigger than any other time that we've done something in front of you. This has been a very long process that Dr. Schenk, Superintendent, and I have been talking about, subsequently coming to the board on a cost reduction plan. And we're seeking ways to save money within the district. And one of the ways that we have come up with was to outsource our custodial maintenance and our mechanical systems. And we put together an RFP that had in essence that would cover and focus on our cleanliness and safety of our buildings, our maintenance services inside and out, which is landscaping to door fixtures, window repairs, minor masonry. We also know the seriousness of air quality. We've engaged with the OTG, but we have a day-to-day mechanical systems obligation to have qualified folks to manage that for us. And through that process, we put together an RFP that we put the challenge out there. So I'm really just going to summarize this memo. We put the challenge out there, and 4 respondents came to the table. And I will tell you that we had some fantastic companies come to the table, but none met or even exceeded our expectations than the following group I'm about to present to you. So I'd like for those gentlemen to stand up here so you know who we're talking about. So everybody who's associated to perfection. This is serious business. This is one of the largest commitments I've ever seen in a 30-year career. I am so honored that they wanted to come to Greater Clark County, that they wanted to work with us. They're very serious about the partnership. They're very committed to our students, very committed to making sure that we save money as a district to make us #1 in the state of Indiana. And it's prevalent in the proposal that I sent to you via email. Some of the things I do want to point out to you is we did have 9 evaluators within the district at all different levels who seek these services throughout our district, so they had high expectations. So out of the scoring that we had, there were 2,205 points available in the scoring matrix. This team received 2,176. The second team, the second highest team, received 886 points. Just to give you an idea on the plan that they put together that was concise and clear. They have an 8-week transition plan to work with our current employees to transition them onto their team. I'm so proud. I'm just honored and proud and almost speechless. So you know when you get me to that point, right? So the contract amount that we will be coming to the board with on April 13th will be with perfection. It is my strongest recommendation. The price of that contract will be $6,755,555 with a guaranteed savings of $320,433. They are an all-in team. In their proposal, they define the highest mission, vision, and core values that Greater Clark County deserves and seeks in strong partners. With that, you've had plenty to read. We talk about their partnership, loyalty, dedication, and commitment. It is my strongest recommendation that this board would consider partnering with Perfection Group.
I can't follow that. Board, do I have a motion?
Mr. President, I recommend that we approve the facilities management company.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Comments, questions, concerns? Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I sat in 2 meetings, I guess, with most of these gentlemen. A few faces I see that are new tonight, but I see you in the book. So, I I was also impressed, and I mean, I've probably gone through this book. I think I might have read every page by now. Some of the things that, one of the things is that when we look at our annual savings, that's the amount that is guaranteed that we're going to save. But there are additional things, and I know, Chad, just when you were just talking about things like, okay, so somebody shoots a rock through a window when they're cutting grass, we get to pay for the window.
Yes, ma'am.
If they shoot a rock through the window when they're cutting grass, they pay for the window. And just things that are, I guess, they're nebulous amounts, because you can't, although you can go back and say, well, we have 3 or 4 or 5 other areas where we will probably save more. I mean, there are things that if we continue the way we are, we're going to still incur those additional costs.
Yes, ma'am.
There's a lot of variable things that may happen, but may not happen the next year or even the next month. But let me tell you that this team, the reason they're all in, and it behooves them to be all in for both sides, is because they made a strong commitment with no spending cap to the cost of the district in their mechanical system, right? So from our perspective, that talks to us highly, because we know that they are going to do all the steps it takes to do preventative maintenance. It helps them, but moreover, it benefits us on top of it all. So that appealed to us. The RFP was written in a way that these companies were told verbally and in the RFP to bring their best of their best. And the idea, because they are the professionals. So we leaned in on that to see who was able to meet that criterion. And I mean, I'm telling you, no one did. They didn't meet it. And then we had one that exceeded it with all their capabilities.
Mr. Hawkins? Yes, I had 2 questions. The first one is the guarantee. How is that guarantee measured? I mean, do we have a baseline and then something to go against, or is the guarantee that?
Yes, so the challenge was that I provided the financials that are publicly known as well, because I report them out on Form 9.
Right.
And I reported to them at the mandatory meeting just for those interested parties, because they had to be serious in this. Of course, we wanted to take a look at 2 years, because the most recent ones are pulled up on the state website.
Okay.
So we looked at our normal year compared to a COVID year.
Okay.
We understand that those differences are different. Some areas were higher. Our CARES Act took on some costs, right? So we knew how to get that range. And we provided them data that fed into those expenses, such as equipment costs, supply costs, staffing costs, health insurance costs, insurance costs. We provided all that data to them, that this amount, no matter where it's at, we wanted to make sure that they were able to guarantee us a reduction in those expenses. So they came up with a plan on how to maintain our equipment, what services to provide, met the landscaping. Did you see the landscaping in there? Okay. Met that landscaping expectation, our cleanliness, the routine, having our staff have the first right of refusal. They can come in and have those jobs with good benefits, honored if how many years at a school district, they're going to recognize those years of service in their company. Okay? So they came to tell us that, and the difference between what they could provide that service for came up to the dollar figure. The differences between what we traditionally expended to what they can do it for resulted in a $320,000 cost reduction. But this does not include all of the ancillary costs that will naturally come, our natural reductions, like such as in claims, like workers' comp claims. Those sometimes happen, sometimes they don't. So there's no guarantee in those, but we know that those are going to come. We don't have that staff to have those injuries and pay those claims. On top of the fact that our payroll dollar figures will now come down by nearly $4.5 to $5 million, right? And so that's what your workers' comp insurance is calculated on. So, of course, insurance rates can go up and down, but it's calculated off your total payroll. So if we ever have an increase in payroll for whatever reason, but this will make a significant difference. We didn't put that burden on any of the bidders because we knew that those were variables.
Okay. You, just for the benefit of the public, Laura and I had gone through some of this, and she had sent me most of that information. I just wanted the public to be able to understand that they haven't seen the numbers that you sent to me, but the number that you just mentioned, the $6,750,555, is plus the 320, roughly equals, if I understand correctly, what we
Our average cost. Our average cost.
Okay.
Average cost.
And then the second question I had is something that you and I also discussed was, how do we, well, we didn't go through this too much, and I may have to ask one of these gentlemen, how is, or where is the line, how do we draw the line between a maintenance expense and a capital expense?
Right, so we clearly know what our current issues are within the district, so we would never put that burden on any new partner.
Right.
So some of those may fall into a capital expense because we know what those issues are, right? And we also know that there is a range that if it's something that is repairable and maintainable, that's what we're going to be able to put into, such as the mechanics, because we want to make sure that those operations and the mechanics are working to the maximum and best capacity. They are responsible, they've committed, let me say this, they've committed to analyze each of our buildings and prepare us for a future capital planning session, because they understand how we are operating with large projects, the direction the district is going with their buildings, closures, the things that they're doing, so they will help us with that capital plan in there. You know, we would not expect any, if we had a replacement that had gone down in one of our schools, 1.8 million, never was that out there to these companies to have to carry that burden.
I guess where I was going, and I had specifically mentioned one thing, you pointed out, no, that would be something that we would be considering as a capital expense.
Correct, because we're also going to have facility studies.
Right.
So we have that whole plan going on, and they will be sitting at the table. We have Natalie that sits with us all the time. They will have Chris that sits with us all the time.
I guess where I would be is, the biggest thing that I can think of, and it would be not reasonably expected, would be, for instance, if a centrifugal chiller goes down, and it throws out one of the turbines blows out of it. Right now, from what they've seen this year, they understand where they're at and what they've got. But I mean, in 2 years from now, when this is a 3-year contract, right?
That's right.
At the end of the 2 years, we could conceivably have something fail like that. Would that end up being a capital expense that we would absorb? Would that be?
So we will have.
I think these gentlemen would like to.
They would like to answer that. because they're-
Okay, great.
Tony, please.
Go right ahead.
The answer to your question, short term, yes, if that centrifugal chiller goes down under our agreement, we pay for the repair.
Okay.
However, there are means in which we're going to make sure that thing's running effectively.
I understand that it's to your advantage to maintain.
And part of our plan here is we are going to dedicate an individual here, an engineer, 1 day a month to look at your assets and do an asset protection plan on all your equipment.
Okay.
So and we'll be reporting that back to you, Chris, and myself will all be involved with that.
All right. And that's the reason I'd ask you about the insurance.
The insurance.
Yes.
Insurance.
Yeah, they're fully insured. We don't have
Well,
any kind
I mean-
of owner's risk
We
or
had to
builder's risk.
any additional insurance.
Yeah, no, don't have to do any of that.
Thank you.
I just really want to say I've been in communication with auxiliary services significantly, those that are attending, and our custodial staff. They've reached out to me for my prior years here in Greater Clark. And when I first talked to some of those folks on the phone, I said, listen, if it doesn't benefit you or at least put you in the same place that you are, will not vote for it. And it kind of reminded me of my dad always used to tell me that the past was better left behind. Worry's just a waste of time, and sometimes money's not just the bottom line. And it was kind of cool when I was a kid thinking, man, I got to write that down, And it's one of the only things I probably would have written down at that time in my life. But that being said, that was really critical to me, and sitting in these meetings with these gentlemen, they gave a commitment to meeting and identifying these people, working with them. And I say these people, they're our people. It's not just, it's not theirs now. They're all of ours. We're going into a partnership. And I think it's going to be an extraordinary partnership. And there's room for them to grow, to move up, to take training. And not one of those gentlemen that I met with do I feel like was insincere about that. So I really want the auxiliary people, our custodians, I really want you to understand that everybody up here and everybody over there, as we are partners, you are really the most valuable commodity. It's not the chiller. It's not, who's going to pay for the window. While it's important, don't get me wrong. I just want that to be out there on tape. That is the deal. So with that said, is there any other?
Yeah, I wanted to say that one of the things that, several of the gentlemen spoke during the meetings, and one of the things that one of them said that struck me was, well, first of all, it started as a small company about 70, 71 years ago, a very small company. And it has grown into this massive, almost, company. However, there was still a small company feel. There are families still involved, like third generation, is that right? Families, fathers, son, brothers. And one of them said something about it was the health insurance plan that they have in their company is the same for the managers and owners as it is for the employees. There's no grade A for the top dogs and a lower for, so somehow they managed to keep this small company feel, and that's the part that really struck me. Don't know how you did it, but it's still, there's still some of that there, and that always appeals to me, and I think as a partnership that appealed to me very much.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to say that in echoing Ms. Fitzpatrick's sentiments, I was familiar with the company through a previous career when I was in Jeffersontown, where their headquarters is. They had a solid reputation then, was really just thrilled to see all the value-added services in the proposal, went way above and beyond.
Thank you, Mr. Paul. Any others? Mr. Hawkins?
As I think everybody here probably knows, I preferred that we would be able to maintain this internally and to manage it, but obviously, over talking to staff and other members of the corporation, it's never been really something that we've seem to have been very good at. We've had our problems with that. I think that perhaps, there's lots of different reasons it could be. I would have preferred to maintain it internally, but since we've got somebody that appears to be adequate at what they're doing, and hopefully we won't have issues, and they seem to have answered all the questions we need, that's why I'm voting yes for this.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of the recommendation to approve Perfection as a facility management company, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That moves right along.
Thank you so much for it, and I would like you to give them a credit card welcome.
Thank you all.
Here they are present. They've made a commitment to. Todd is there. Wait here, Todd. If you get a chance to talk to them, you will get that feel that Janelle has talked about, and they're way beyond adequate. So I want to make sure that's clear. I'm just so proud. I'm just so proud. Thank you.
Welcome.
Awesome. We have no public comments on non-agenda items. Board comments. Mr. Hawkins, do you have? Ms. Hutchins?
No.
Mr. Paul? Mr. Freeman? Ms. Fitzpatrick?
I always have a comment, but no.
No, please. Don't be private. Ms. Perkins?
Yes, I know we had a couple of, even with the COVID and everything going on with our schools and our students, our ROTC did some amazing things at Jeff. And I hope we can recognize them through a publication. And the other one is our Jeff High band. I don't know how they did it, but they, I mean, I don't know how they got together to get it going. I know we did one program where each kid played and then they put it together, but anyway, they won several first place this past weekend with competition in our state. So.
Awesome. Do you think with the lack of being able to get together, and particularly the band, they sound like the Mayberry band? You know?
Yeah,
Don't forget that, whoever's the Mayberry band.
the old ones.
Yeah, I had, I've always had something to say, but don't ask me here this morning. Mr. Walker?
A few things. Well, first of all, welcome, and I look forward to partnering with Perfections and hope that our people, that currently work for us, give you all a chance, because I think it will be a really good partnership that will, move this district forward and in a great positive way. So I look forward to seeing where that takes us. Second thing, also don't forget Jeff High's basketball team winning the sectional and play Saturday morning in the regional. Good luck to them. Real quick on the COVID update, we're sitting at approximately right at 148 students cases since July 29th when we started school. We've had right at 52 staff cases since July 29th, and we've quarantined right at 3,000 students since July 29th. And thankfully that's slowing way down right now, and it's really slowed down the last couple of weeks. And I'm thankful to say that I have an appointment at 10:10 Saturday to get a vaccine shot. So that's, I'm ready to get that done. Hopefully,
It doesn't.
I'm getting the one shot Johnson & Johnson, so that's good. I'm thankful. But, I know this was a very tough decision. Many of us have been in this district for a long time, working with a lot of the custodians and maintenance and people that, we saw every day, I saw every day as a principal. But I think, I know this was the right decision that the district made tonight. I think it will be a good partnership. And I hope that we all work together really well moving forward. So thank you. That's all I have.
Mr. Kowski, you have anything you want to add? No. All right. Well, this comes to the most difficult time tonight. Board, do I have a move to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.